Okay, so I'm going to talk for a second because I am early to my rehearsal and it'll help me before I kind of stretch and write down my plan for trying to figure out how to get the role of this character named Beth for Little Women right in 3 weeks when I'd been hurt for a while and I don't know how it's going to happen. And it's really hard because and this is not really what I wanted to talk about. I'll talk about what I actually want to talk about in just a moment. But, I would have taken a class this morning, except I'll just say there's like a conflict of interest politically, and I have to kind of protect my nervous system. Excuse me, I'm outside. And that's what's difficult because if you are a person that does not look like me, even in these times, I guess you can somehow still manage to be in spaces that, for someone like me, I have to be very protective of this body as it's the only one that I have, and different things can throw it off. It's very fragile. And a lot of people don't talk about being committed to mental health facilities or real breakdowns. And I had one when I was 24. And I have a very fragile mental place, especially if you come from trauma. And a lot of Black people deal with mental health struggles. But because of the stigma, I think people don't talk about it as much. But, I think it's very obvious there's going to be a lot of things that have not been diagnosed. Just by a lot of things, I think I can tell that what it ends up being is that we think we can just put one foot in front of the other and keep going without needing to address things. And in this time, there's a chance to begin to address things, when in previous years there hasn't been opportunity to, or the resources to, due to the severity of oppression. And so anyway, I say that to say that it's difficult because I am the Black person in this space, and it's pretty unlikely to have gotten into this company in the first place. And I don't come from the privileged backgrounds of those that I dance around and dance with. And I'm still working towards a car, or, still working to get off of public transportation, So just all of these different dynamics at play that just make it really difficult. Then I have an unjob that is not even my potential whatsoever. And being a girl child that carries a line where not people before me have necessarily, my mom has, but not all of the girls and women previous generations before have had the option of education. So it's just really very like a dissonance that I feel all the time in working this unjob. And so I say that to say that it's very difficult trying to make things work when it just is very obvious that I have the deck stacked against me, one thing after the other. And I also wanted to talk also before I go inside. I think I'll actually be able to do this in one take, which is crazy. I want to talk about, because I see that this Grammy winning artist has my name. It's primarily a male name, but Obina is my name. And I think that as a person that carries two cultures, I want to say, because this stuff really hurts me when I see an African attack an African American in a hair shop, when I see how there's not an honoring of the history of Black American women for Essence Festival by African women, and more than that, an African man that is the owner of this corporate entity. I don't know how to say it properly. So I want to say this, because as I'm going through my therapy and healing process, and there's geese in the background, there's a lot of Canadian geese in this area. So excuse me. and as I'm kind of fleshing through the fact of not really having real support on either side, and kind of recognizing that that may be a sign of having a scapegoat lineage, of so much not having a real connection to anybody, that maybe I'm supposed to be that flower that just accidentally grows and is supposed to really die out because of the lack of support. I'm pretty sure that actually is what the energy is saying. I actually interpreted the word so far to be die bitch die. So when I talk about these things, I don't know what place it's coming from, because I am still an on the mend person trying to articulate what my experiences have been. But I will say this, I don't have there were a lot of geese on the campus of Howard too. Sometimes on the track, when I would walk around the track with a person I remember being in musical theater with when I started with that major. But basically, my father, because we grew up in Georgia, I remember he would talk about the country artist Charlie Pride, who's an African-American male country artist, and how that he was an example of a black country artist. And my father was born in the 1950s, so he would have gone through integrating a school in, the Deep South. And look, I'm trying to figure out what my relationship has been with him and understand the trauma within these things and take the good. It's actually a painful experience that counseling is helping me through a lot. But what I'm saying is that, it just ends up being offensive when you say that we built America. And I guess I say we, knowing that I can probably use that in being able to talk about me as a person that comes from Black immigrant heritage. But I am, like I say, a bicultural person. But, it's kind of silly. It's kind of silly when we were only here after 1960, after the Biafra War. We were here after the Biafra War, okay? And if we built America, then why is Nigeria in the state that it's in? Why did Chimamanda Adichie's child die in a hospital? Why did the boxer's friends die on the road? Why are girls still experiencing female genital mutilation and breast ironing due to the danger of boys and men and not having the chance at having an education? Why is this still happening? And why are we focusing on building someplace else if this is what's happening? It's not okay to ignore people's stories. And there are so many people in country music knowing the barriers that Black people have faced, knowing how country Black people are, as well as country white people knowing that there will be origins for Black country music. And a legacy that you stand on to be able to have achieved success in a realm. And look, I listened to one of your songs yesterday briefly. It was giving a little bit of T-Pain with just the look and a little bit of, I could tell it was a mix of genres that by now those who do like country today will have had access to these genres as well due to the legacy of Black American music in the United States. And more specifically, what is missing in this conversation, ADOS, FBA, those descended from United States slavery. Okay? Which is also has its difference from slavery that happened in Caribbean islands. So I just want to say that because, I think you were also featured on Beyonce's album, country album, which that can be incorporated. You could look at Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Charlie Pride. You could really call into the legacy of those that you stand on as an artist, and that anybody like us, we would still be outsiders. So it would also require another level of us being welcomed into the fold, which is also why Nicki Minaj will be getting backlash now, because it will have required being welcomed into the fold as a cultural outsider. No matter how much influence we have, we are still cultural outsiders to all of this. So that's all I want to say. Look, I need to practice dance. I want it to work out. But again, I say the decks are already stacked against me so much. And I'm older as well. You know, it's just like one thing after the other. I just want to lay down and just, yeah. Let me go inside. I need to warm up, kind of come up with my schedule. And I'm thinking an idea will be to start to do choreography and put it online, because it will be helpful for me to kind of practice in that way, to have something as proof to show that I'm working to have this right within the next few weeks. And all right, that's all. All right, let me go ahead and get ready. And these emotions that I feel and the outsiderness I feel in this space every day, you know, but with the goal, I want to be able to achieve the things as a ballet dancer that I could not envision for myself, you know. And I know that being around a lot of, a lot of Black American ballet dancers in Atlanta that were far above my level, okay? Far above my level. So obviously I have that insecurity as well, knowing that I'm not as skilled as, but also knowing that I had that opportunity to see, you know, somebody with, you might say Misty Copeland, and for me, I'm African too, so I will say Michaela DePrince. But growing up, I will see dark-skinned dancers, like, and I'm not going to say all their names because I don't want to, like, you know, be invasive and put them, but there are a lot. So Bal Ethnic Dance Academy, then there's Lauren Anderson at Houston Ballet, you know. There's a dancer at Atlanta Ballet that I really, really took to when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15. So anyway, I just say that to say that let me go. I need to stretch, and I need to kind of write down my plan, and I might be sharing more of it with you in the videos that I post, because I really, really want to get this right, as impossible as it pretty much is. Okay. All right, have a good day. All right, bye.